Welcome everybody.
Hang on, Ryan.
What?
I was just fucking with you. All right.
Welcome everybody back to the 5:30. Oh, Dave, you motherfucker. Are you assholes done?
Yeah.
Brittany, do you want to get something off your chest?
No, I'm good. I'm the nice one, remember?
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody.
Where's Dustin?
Oh, you motherfucker. You motherfucker.
All right, I'm done.
Are we over this now?
Yeah, we're done.
You want me to mute them all?
Do it. Mute them all.
Welcome back to the Five Dirty Bikers podcast. Presented by Memphis Shades, the clear choice for custom windshields and fairings for your motorcycle. And Wild Ass Seats, stay in the saddle longer and in total comfort no matter your butt or budget.
Welcome everybody back to the Five Dirty Bikers podcast. We don't have Dustin with us tonight. He's feeling a little bit under the weather. So they called me up from the minors. So I'm reading us into the podcast today. Today we have a very special guest. We have Greg and Andy from South Dakota. They're going to join us, and we are going to talk today about our new, I guess you'd call it maybe partnership with them. And we want them to tell us a little bit about what they do in South Dakota, what their connection to Sturgis is going to be, and how that connects to our podcast this week. So welcome to the Five Dirty Bikers podcast, Greg and Andy.
Thank you.
We're glad to be here, and I know it's bad to say things like that because somebody's going to have something smart to say about it.
No.
Well, I mean, it happens from time to time. It really does. So really what we want to do is just tell everybody about your guys' place in South Dakota so they know where they should be making their vacation plans for, not just during the event of Sturgis, but specifically outside of the event of Sturgis, because right, you're all filled up for Sturgis. I mean, right, you guys have all your reservations made, hotels all booked, everything's ready to go for the event.
Yeah, so we own the Iron Horse Inn, which is in Whitewood, South Dakota, just about 6 miles outside of Sturgis. We have 194 rooms, which is a very large motel, but we were built right around 20 years ago specifically for the Sturgis Rally and specifically for motorcycling. All of the buildings are built so you drive up to your door, whether you're in a car or a bike, and you fall down at the end of the day after a good long ride, and then you get up the next day and do it all over again. For the longest time, the motel prior to my family and us owning it was really only open for a few years, for a few months. So yeah. And we're now open year round. And so our goal is to really, get people to enjoy the Black Hills and let them know that anytime during the summer, or as long as the weather is good, there's no better place to ride a motorcycle than the Black Hills. So.
Yeah, and in addition to everything is one ground floor for our facilities, and actually the inside rooms, the banks of the rooms, the ceilings are sloped so that they actually protect motorcycles from weather. For anybody that's been here in July or August, we get our fair share of hail. So sometimes it's very nice to have that. We've also had a nice collection out in front of our bar, parked underneath the awnings for protection, but we both come from families with backgrounds that are motorcyclists. Andy, when we first met, was not overly excited that I was really into the biker lifestyle because she had enough of that with her father and her getting picked up as a little kid.
It's way more fun with a boyfriend than it is with your dad. Motorcycling.
I'm not touching that one.
I had to learn that. I had to learn that the hard way. So
yeah, and through a very random life series of events, I worked for a bank company that actually owned the hotel we now own on a loan that went bad. And we brought Andy's dad up there for several Sturgis motorcycle rallies in a row. And jokingly, he said one morning, you know, maybe I should buy this place. And Andy was like, you're just being stupid now. Like, just quit talking and let's get on with our day. And ironically, right after the 74th Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, he and his family bought the hotel, put a significant amount of work into it, built a very nice on-site bar restaurant, did a lot of things that had never been done on the property. And literally the first rally that they owned it was the 75th Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, which by far is the largest attended motorcycle rally that there's ever been in Sturgis. Estimates came in somewhere between 800,000 and 1 million people being here for that motorcycle rally. So
That's
for our listeners, can I just suggest that you go take a look at ironhorseinsturgis.com, which is their website, and take a look at the shots of the hotel to get a full appreciation for what Greg and Andy just described as far as the setup, because it's, I don't know, I think it's one of the coolest looking motels I've ever seen.
So I do have a question for you guys. So when you talk about, you know, there's this difference of hotel motel. And so we want to make sure that people understand, distinguish the difference, because, you know, for a lot of the younger generation, that's not an interchangeable word. There is an actual difference between them. And yours is a motel, right? So your doors enter to the outside. And when you were talking about parking spaces, so when Dave and I come up there and stay with you guys, we will be able to park our motorcycles right out in front of the room that we're staying in, correct?
Correct.
And how many spaces are typically reserved for each room?
There's 3 internally for every room. Okay. And so they're actually skinnier motorcycle wide spaces. On the external rooms, they're actually a full car suburban truck space. So you can actually fit 4 bikes in one space, basically.
Sure.
But we also have approximately 14 total acres, because we get people that come from all over the country and actually all over the world. We have folks from New Zealand, Canada, Italy that come visit us for the rally and throughout the summer to come ride. And one of the reasons they like our place is if you're a trailer person, not a rider, to get here, we have so much parking that people can put their custom trailers in, big trucks, all that kind of stuff.
Did you just say trailer? Who trailers a motorcycle to a motorcycle event?
A lot of people. You can spend half a day counting them, Ryan, if you want to.
I'm sure. I just like to rib that just a little bit, because Dave and I ride everywhere, and Tony rides to the gas station. So
you can fuck off. All the way off.
But from what I've heard, you know, if you really like the way you look, you can always see your reflection in Tony's bikes, right? Because they're so
this is true.
It's true. Yeah. Right. You could eat off of pretty much any part of his bike.
And when they all need work on their bike, who do they come to?
He's not lying.
Don't be throwing me in with those freeloaders.
Well, that's what throw me in. Tony's got the tools, and he only lives an hour from me. So,
I will say it is a little bit fun, specifically for us that own the place. And as everybody starts rolling in, when you see one of these, I mean, these trailers, the amount of money that people put into some of them is incredible. And you'll see a couple, specifically, we have one couple that comes from New Jersey every year and stays with us for 2 weeks. They bring 3 or 4 bikes, and sometimes they have a different bike that they bring from the previous year. And every day they go out, and depending on the type of ride that they want to experience, determines the bike that they take out that day. So a lot of people are just anticipating, oh, well, what bike are they going to take out today? And, you know, they can roll up in the front of the bar and have 20 people come and ask them about their bike. So it is, for those people who do trailer, usually it's because they couldn't choose which bike to bring.
Well, you know, I've come to the realization it takes a lot of money to be a proper redneck. You can't do it on a budget, man. I mean, you got to have some dough to pull this off.
It's true. It's a very true thing.
You know?
So,
like Andy said, we have a friend from the East Coast, South Carolina. His name is Wayne. And the last time he came out, he came by himself, brought his truck and his trailer, but he has a custom built chopper that he has built himself. But he wasn't comfortable riding that across the country. And he's like, he'd never been to South Dakota before. So he's like, I want to bring it because I want to be able to ride it at the rally. But then he's like, I also want to bring my heritage so that I have something dependable to ride.
So being in South Dakota, does it get as cold as this cocksucker's place in North Dakota? Or are you all not as bad?
No, I mean, I would say it's usually 10 to 15 degrees colder up there. So like we have family that lives in Bismarck. So when we leave Bismarck in January every year, by the time we get home, there's usually about a 40-degree shift in temperature. And that's just going from North Dakota to South Dakota. So, I mean, it is frigid in North Dakota.
Oh, he's throwing out temperatures that don't exist.
He said that minus 48 the other day.
Yeah.
Right?
Tony, I don't
where you are.
Yeah. Tony, I don't know if you got this background, but one of the reasons I kind of got chatting with Ryan on social media is I'm actually from very close to where Ryan lives in North Dakota. And so we were talking about, I've experienced that pain before. Luckily, Western South Dakota, where we live, is much more temperate climate like you would get down in Colorado because of elevation and the way that actually storms hit the Rockies and then come to the Black Hills and where they drop precipitation. So we get a lot warmer here than anywhere else does in North and South Dakota.
Like yesterday, it was close to 60 degrees here, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And there were probably, I mean, when you're in South Dakota, you can ride your motorcycle at least once a month year round. I mean, obviously, you know, during the summer more frequently, but I mean, we see people out riding their bikes year round because we're blessed with those 60-degree weather, that 60-degree day, but not everybody in South Dakota is, or North Dakota.
Right. So they had close to 60 today. We had 34, and it was the warmest day in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah,
wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
well, Greg is
there's
actually
a big
lucky.
difference.
Yeah.
Greg's actually lucky I stayed with him. When we first started dating, he took me to Fargo for Christmas, and it is so deceiving. So we're rolling into Fargo, and we hadn't stopped for a while, so I didn't have a chance to like know what it was like outside. And I'm a runner, and I was thinking like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna get into the hotel, get checked in. I'm going to go for a run because that's how I like to kind of explore places. You know, you can go for a run and kind of see all these things. And him and his mom, they just kind of chuckled at me and they're like, the hell if you are. And I got out and I choked. It was so fucking cold. Like, I was like, how do you do this? Like, how do people live here? This is completely obnoxious.
Ryan, wait a minute. Did you say that was your first date?
No.
First Christmas.
Our first Christmas together.
Oh, I thought you said first date, and I'm thinking Greg took her to wood chipper land in the middle of winter. I thought I was going to have to talk to Greg, but okay.
Well, you got to be ready for the ride first. You got to be ready for the ride. You know? Ryan,
if you ever see me running, don't ask questions. Just take run. The fuck off because shit has gone bad.
Ryan, you'll appreciate this too. Right before she got out and started being able to breathe, she's like, "Why are there extension cords going from the building to all of the vehicles in the parking lot?"
Oh yeah,
never in my life. I mean,
never seen block heaters like that before.
No, that was crazy.
Take your car from this area of the country and go down south somewhere, and then use your car starter. And they're like, "Ooh, who the fuck do you think you are with your fancy car starter that starts your car when you're not in it?" And I'm like, that's how we survive. So yeah, it's quite a bit different. I was actually telling these guys not too long ago, Andy, when you were talking about being a runner, and I told them that they send out weather alerts here because the people are, I saw a runner today, right? Because it was 35, but they'll send out weather alerts to the runners and say, don't run. You'll frostbite your lungs internally by breathing the air.
Hang on, you can do what?
You can frostbite your lungs if you're breathing through your mouth when it gets that cold, Tony.
Well, because the moisture that your mouth is producing, and then it freezes on impact, and
you breathe it in, and you'll frostbite your lungs. Yep.
Yeah, we have a lot of quality air problems, but very different than other places in the.
Yeah, it's not the fog and the smog; it's the cold.
Yeah.
Now, you guys, though, one of the things I would say that you have in South Dakota that we don't have here is you have unpredictable weather. I mean, I know that, and when I say unpredictable weather, we have weather changes here, but I have never in my life, 2 years ago when I went and camped in South Dakota, and a group of us went out there, it was 96 in Rapid City on Saturday. On Monday, the Horse Thief campground where we stayed at, just north of Hill City, got 9 inches of snow. And when we set up our tent on Wednesday, it was 28 degrees and there was snow on the ground when we were setting up our tents. And in that time frame that we were there, when we drove out to I'm trying to think, that place in Wyoming. The place in Wyoming. Devil's Tower. So we drove out to Devil's Tower like on a Tuesday when we were out there, and it was 97 degrees. And then when we pulled into our campground that night, it was 41. I mean, in the same ride, we had experienced that. So you guys have some different weather stuff that we don't get here, and because of the mountains and that kind of, they call them the hills, right? But for us here, those are mountains for sure. So
yeah. Spearfish actually holds a record, which is not very far from us, holds a record for the biggest shift in temperature. They went from like -4 degrees on a January day to about 47 degrees in about 4.5 minutes. Don't quote me. It was like either 2 to 4 minutes. The shift in temperature was so drastic. And it's because we have what we call the Chinook winds that come in, and it will just literally warm you up. So during the winter, we have these beautiful 60-degree days, and it's windy, but it's warm wind, you embrace it because that's what's bringing on that warm weather. So yeah, we have intense shifts, like my personality, just never know what you're gonna
Chinook winds.
You keep hearing about that, but we haven't seen it yet. So have another drink.
Chinook winds.
All right.
Right.
Cheers.
So really why we brought these guys on is a few months ago, and it was, don't quote me on this, Greg, but I'm fairly certain it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I get a message from Greg on Instagram, and he's like, "Hey man, I don't know if you're up, but I could see that you're on Instagram." And well, you got that little green dot, right? So you can see when people are active, right? So
I didn't have to creep that hard. You had your green light on.
He's always on Instagram. I've never been on there.
If you're on Instagram at 1 a.m. looking at colors of dots, you're a creeper.
Listen.
That's all I got to say.
Well, okay. In my defense, we're in the mountain time zone, so it was probably midnight or before here.
Right. He did. So he actually did say that because he was sending a message. He's like, "Oh shit, it's like 1 o'clock there. Sorry about that." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. I was up."
Yeah, but I'm like, having a beer,
right?
Checking out what's going on in the world. Nothing wrong with it.
And so Greg reaches out.
Best decisions happen.
Always. Tony, you order motorcycle parts when it's too late.
Greg reaches out
middle
to
of the night, dude.
Instagram.
I'll order the shit out of motorcycle parts. I really will.
So
in through DMs.
Yep. So Greg reaches out to me, and we just start chatting back and forth, and he kind of throws out this idea and says, "Hey, would you guys ever be interested in doing your podcast from Sturgis?" He said, "I'd heard that you were thinking about maybe making a trip out there, because I've had my opinions on the event, and they're completely without merit because I've never been. So I've been to the area riding a number of times off season, which I absolutely recommend to anyone and everyone. It's some of the best riding. I would put it up against any riding in the country. There's just so much good riding out there. Even the roads that you wouldn't expect to be fun or whatever are great. Just getting from one place to another, they're going to be twisty and windy and whatever. And so,
hey Ryan, I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but I cannot get this out of my head. So Greg, it's 1 a.m. in the morning. You're creeping, you're trolling on Instagram. Which profile were you looking at? Was it Kim Moto, her Instagram profile, or was it Ryan's Instagram profile?
So I've only heard of, because is that the Halloween female?
It's very disturbing. Yes, it's a very disturbing image, and
she came out before I started following the podcast. So I've only heard echoes of Kim Moto spoken about.
It's very disturbing
by you fine folks.
Andy, you might want to check his Instagram history. Sorry, Ryan, go ahead. What was your question?
In all fairness, he did ask if he could speak to Ryan. Well, I didn't know it was Ryan at the time because I worked there full time. So he did say, now, if I offered this, would it be okay? So he did ask permission. I know I didn't know who he was talking to. So.
And chances are really good it wasn't just me drinking at that time of day.
Little day drinking.
So like I said, since Dave decided to throw in Kim Moto, Greg reached out to me and we started a conversation, and that kind of led to us having a more real conversation about whether or not it would be feasible to come to South Dakota and have a podcast. And so I pitched the guys, and they said, yeah, reach back out to them. And we had a meeting, and that's kind of what brought us all together. And so we are going to be, and when I say we, it's going to be Dave and I for sure. And we're working out the logistics to see if anybody else is going to be able to join us. But Dave and I for sure are going to be spending some time in the first few days of the Sturgis event this year at the motel that Greg and Andy own together with their family. And we're going to, spend some time certainly highlighting what they have out there to offer, and spending some time at Sturgis and taking in some of the things. And I'm certainly going to be talking to Greg about the things that he thinks that we should and shouldn't do. I will tell you this, because I've been up there riding a couple times. I'm much more interested in what the event has to offer than the riding this time around. And I'm biased in that respect because I know what the riding is like outside of the event when it's not overly crowded. And so, while all of the rides, Needles Highway and Iron Mountain Road and all those things are great, I don't want to wait in a line of other motorcyclists to do that, because I have been told, and I've seen a couple of videos, and if you guys haven't seen, there's a friend of ours on the podcast, Queen Sit, who is a YouTuber and an Instagram personality. And she was riding out there a couple of years ago, and she has this really great footage of a guy who completely slides out on a corner and literally narrowly misses her, taking her out by about 6 or 8 inches. And she's 5'2" and rides this big road glide, and this guy just goes sliding across the road in front of her. So I would feel much more comfortable going out there in the off season and riding, because I think you do get the number of riders that aren't as comfortable riding on those kind of roads when they're going out for the event time out there. So I'm really going out there to take in things at the event so that I can actually have a educated opinion on what's going on in that area for sure, and be able to highlight, like I said, what you guys do. And then Dave and I are going to be doing live streams and recording every night. We plan on recording a podcast live from some place on the property, right? So either from the bar or from the hotel or motel lobby or wherever it's going to work out best. Maybe all of those places.
I know where it won't be. It won't be from Kim Moto's room, and I'm not sharing a room with Kim Moto. I'm just going on the record.
I feel Dave, like I was going to ask. So Ryan's there, Dave's there. Is it going to be Kim Moto's first Sturgis motorcycle rally?
If Kim shows up, I'm going the other way.
You're welcome, by the way.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. God damn it.
You're welcome.
I mean, that's a frightening sight,
I will tell
man.
you, if Greg is sliding into her DMs, I feel very comfortable as Greg's wife that our marriage is going to be okay.
Oh, my God.
There you go.
Well, I am looking forward to getting out in the local area. I know when we talked before, you guys were telling us a lot about just all the small businesses there and all the little things that you can do locally. I've been doing a little research, and I'm looking forward to going to the Caverna Coffee and Bistro.
Yeah.
Which looks like a really cool little place to hang out. I love coffee. So I'm looking forward to doing a little filming and shooting and, around the property and then around the locality there, because it looks like a really cool place. And you guys are kind of equidistant between Sturgis and Deadwood, right?
The Sturgis is about 6 miles. Deadwood's about 15. But the ride to Deadwood is so much prettier than the ride to Sturgis that it only feels like 6 miles.
We're talking Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday shit.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Damn
it.
That is cool.
I can take you there. I'd take you to the guys to the chair if you want to see it.
Damn.
No, there you go. I mean, it just looks like a really super cool area of just small communities, and I think that's what I'm really excited about coming out.
Well, Dave, I just need to say this because you just said something that just really resonated with me. Since you brought up Kim Moto, it was interesting to me that we are going to the Mecca of motorcycling for this huge event, and you just brought up a fucking coffee shop. How old man is that?
Dude,
hey, can you guys do me a favor? Andy, do me a favor. If you can locate a walker and make sure you guys have one in Dave's room for him when he gets there.
We got a couple.
Good God.
Dude, you got to it's a culture thing. You have to embed with the culture that you're visiting when you travel. It's, that's how you elevate yourself and you learn about things.
I will tell you this, and I'm not judging people that do this. But I'm going to say,
obviously you are.
I am. Okay, maybe I am. I've never fucking ridden my motorcycle to a Starbucks. I can tell you that for sure.
Well, you're really missing out.
There are a lot of young YouTubers that do this,
Well, Walter and I do that all the time. We meet up for coffee at some off-the-path coffee shop in Maryland or Virginia. I mean, actually, we'll ride 36 miles down the road to Fredericksburg for this place I like to get coffee. Nothing wrong with that, dude.
Man, Dave. Yeah, it's super disappointing.
And it's just a little bitch.
As far as filming locations and backdrops, we have some ideas that we'll share with you guys on offline because we don't want to potentially ruin the surprise or the opportunity. So we'll chat with you, but it's things you wouldn't even know about that we have access to. That
clearly
we're never going to get a chance.
For whoever, I mean, for the things that need production value and some type of intellectual connection with the local community, let me know.
Somebody just mute Dave right now. He's fucking up the whole thing.
God.
So Ryan's coming for the party, less riding. Percy, Dave's coming for the culture.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Both are very important. Yep. Both are equally important, just depending on who you are, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Dave, and Ryan, I'm sure you'd love it too. We have an amazing in Sturgis. There is an incredible motorcycle museum where you will see bikes and things that you will not get a chance probably in your lifetime to ever physically see in person, just because of the history that they have in that place.
Yeah,
and then on the first Monday that you guys will be there, the Jack Pine Gypsies have a hill climb contest, and that is pretty amazing to see. I mean, I've seen people driving down the interstate because as you're going down the interstate, you can see these people, climbing the hills, and I swear to God, they're all going to go off and cause an accident because it's pretty impressive what they can do.
Did you say gypsies?
Yep. So if you don't know the history of the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, it was started by a gentleman named Pappy Hull, and he actually owned not only the Harley-Davidson dealership, but also an Indian dealership in Sturgis.
Fuck Indian.
I knew that was coming.
He started the Sturgis Motorcycle actually was races originally and rally. And what it was based on was flat track racing. Yeah. In dirt, and it was a lot of Indians versus Harleys, that kind of stuff. And I think if my mind serves me correctly, there was about 7 racers the first year they had it, and it just kept expanding from there. And they still do amateur and pro dirt track racing in the city of Sturgis during the rally, and also hill climbs on 3 days. And they have both amateur and pro, and they even do little kids like 10 and under. And it's
where do the fortune tellers come into? You said gypsies are going to go up the hill?
Okay. Yeah. So Pappy started a motorcycle club called the Jack Pine Gypsies. They are one of the oldest motorcycle clubs in the United States.
Oh, fuck. I'm going to get my ass kicked when I go out there, aren't I?
Yeah. Good.
Hey, whoever's going to edit, take out that gypsy shit that I just said.
They'll meet you at the coffee shop.
Yeah. Well, Dave, if you know much about motorcycle clubs, their president's actually a woman right now, so that'd tell you more what kind of motorcycle club they are.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a feminist.
Yep.
Should probably still whip your ass, Percy.
A creepy old man feminist.
Yeah.
So since we're on the topic of Dave and getting cultured, one of the things we didn't talk about when we talked to you and Ryan the first time is actually one of what we think, and a lot of people are kind of, when they figure it out, they're like, this is the best way to do it. So we actually run a free shuttle bus that's a party bus that you can drink on from the property to downtown Sturgis. It literally drops you off 1 block off of Main Street, and it leaves our property on odd hours and comes back even hours, starting at 1 in the afternoon and going till 1 in the morning. So you can get on the bus, ride for free, have a good time. And then they're always there to pick you up, drop you off, pick you up. Same exact spot.
Yes. We won't even have to ride our bikes down into that.
Well, you see, this is the difference between me and you. You're thinking about how to get a free ride, right? Because that's you. And I'm thinking about how this is an awesome opportunity for us to interview all those people coming back at 11 and then later.
There's no how to get a soul cats coming down at 11.
Yes. But it's a great time. I mean, there's, they put in a juiced up stereo on the bus. You can take anything from our bar onto the bus. You can buy beer, shots on the bus as you ride it down.
And it is kind of fun, going back to, talking about being local. There are a lot of hotels, not very many motels because they're not as popular these days, but a lot of hotels or, large bars and businesses in this area that are owned by large corporations,
large chains.
And that's one of the things that I think that we really pride ourselves at, is that we provide a very, even though 194 rooms and 14 acres sounds very large scale, we try to provide a very personable, low scale. That doesn't come out right.
We want people to know who we are as the owners and show that we're invested in them having a good time and being there, and not, well, we paid money for this and there's 8 levels of people between us and you, because that to us, that doesn't get us in the community that we care about, and it doesn't allow us to spend time with, not, during the time we're talking about, motorcyclists, but we also care a lot about the community that we're in. And there's only 1,000 to 1,200 people that live there. So as far as, tax bases go and employers go, there's not a lot, and there's very few that are our size. I mean, there's an elementary school, there's like a precast concrete place and a couple of sawmills, but other than that, there's not big employers. So we are open year round. We actually run bingo on Sundays, and we had 103 people there yesterday.
Wow.
So we do dart leagues, pool leagues. We run year round. So anybody that wants to come visit us anytime, we're going to be there. It's not one of those.
Do you guys have any vacancies right now for Sturgis, or are you completely booked?
So we Sturgis rooms are all done via contract. So how that works is, we want people to be able to reserve a room, but we know life happens and life changes. So about this time of year is where we start calling everybody who's reserved a room and said, if you're serious about this, we ask that you put a half deposit down. And then that, at this time, we usually see, I would say 10 to 15 rooms open up again. And then, we have a list of people who are waiting for us to call them. So as soon as those rooms open up, I'll call and say, hey, we have a room that's opened up, and it'll be filled within a couple of weeks. So yeah, right now we're booked for Sturgis without a doubt.
So when should people start, say, for next year? When should people start looking to book with you guys?
So we do 3-night minimums, and a lot of people, and I know Professional Monkey, is that a guy you guys had on before? Yep. We were actually listening to that live show at lunch today. And kind of getting other people's perspective that you talked to before about Sturgis. So we get a lot of people come for the front end of the rally. That's more the big time, the party time. And Ryan was talking about this earlier. I don't want to ride with all of those people. A lot of people that come back year over year that have talked to me about how they feel and what kind of situations they'd like to ride in. I explained to them, if you come towards the back end of the week or like a week and a half, 2 weeks before, you're going to see all the same stuff. All the bars are open, all the vendors are here, but you're going to have less people. And so like Ryan said, you're not waiting in line to go anywhere. Yeah. But you still get all of the same things. You know, the party may not be as crazy if that's what you're here for. You know, they serve that up for you too. But yeah, we will have some vacancies on the back end of the week. And a lot of times, you know, people that have come a long time or want more of I want to see everything, but I don't want all the people, that's when they'll come.
Yeah. I can absolutely attest to what they were saying. So when we first started talking to Greg and Andy about this and we were kind of solidifying plans, I have a crew of guys that I ride with up here all the time, and they immediately called and talked to Andy and booked their rooms. So I do know that when you guys are out there calling to make your reservations, that you are going to get that kind of personal touch that they were talking about in terms of that part. And again, supporting a family owned, small business, which is very important, I think, especially in the upper Midwest, right? We really try to make sure that we're supporting our all those small businesses and the family owned businesses and places like that. So that's a important thing, I know, for the guys that I ride with, and for a lot of people. I mean, Tony has his own business and Dave has his own business, and so all of those things we kind of get that connection and truly understand what that's like. And to Greg's point too, I want to clarify, it's not that I'm not wanting to ride South Dakota, is that I don't want to ride and fight all the crowds and that kind of stuff, because what I would encourage anybody to do, and certainly what I'm encouraging anybody that listens to our podcast to do, is if you've ever considered a trip to South Dakota and Sturgis is not your thing, call, make your reservations, and have a home base, which is what we like to do when we have gone on our trips to South Dakota. Call, talk to Andy, make your reservation, make that the Iron Horse your home base, and ride all of these areas outside of the event. Go and see them on the off season. Because that's when you're going to be able to experience all that riding without all the traffic and everything. And you're going to be able to support a small business, which is super important in that part of it, because obviously the Sturgis and the rally in that period of time is a given, right? But what we want to do is see, encourage what I've said even before, and I said the same thing to Dave. I think it was 2 years ago when I went up there, and I made a bunch of videos about riding up there and riding in the Black Hills and riding in the national park out by Wall. What was that one, Dave? The
Badlands.
Badlands. Yeah, I did a video where I had a camera on my helmet and a camera on the back of my bike, so you got to see two different views of the whole thing, and that was really an inspiration for Dave to take this once of a lifetime trip out there with his son. And so I would encourage anybody, and like I said, I've ridden all over the country, and I would put up South Dakota against any riding that's out there. It's just as good as anything you're going to find in Tennessee, California, these places. It's obviously you don't have the ocean there, but there is a lot of amazing riding that you're going to find in that area, and an opportunity to support a small family business. It doesn't get much better than that. So,
and because of the rally, we've created so many great friendships and relationships with people that we have groups that now come back intentionally other times of the year. Specifically, we have a group from Colorado where their first experience was the rally. And then they're like, oh, wait, you guys are here all the time. Well, we don't want to have to, limit where we're riding, because, they would ask us, they're like, do you recommend going on the Needles Highway? And I think that was the year we had just talked to a gentleman. He was probably 22, 23 years old. And he's like, yeah, I just bought my first bike and I drove to Sturgis. And Greg and I looked and said, where are you riding tomorrow? Because we're going to make sure nobody else is riding there tomorrow. And not because necessarily he's dangerous, but people don't understand what Needles Highway is like, all the switchbacks and different things like that. And I grew up on the back of a motorcycle with my dad having one my entire life, and, you know, rode on the back of Greg's for a long time, but just recently started riding on my own about 6 or 7 years ago. And even with being very comfortable on a motorcycle, there are still some of those places I will not go during the rally, just because, not because I don't trust myself, because I understand my limitations. I don't trust the other people. And, but there are certain rides out here that I would tell you, you should go to Devil's Tower every time you're here during the rally, because, I mean, a couple of those small towns on your way, they just join in on all the festivities, and you'll go, it's like another little rally. And then the next town, it's like another little rally. So there's just a lot of other places to go other than like what I would call like the big three: Needles Highway, Custer State Park, you know, some of those that I would say take a little bit more experience.
Yeah. That's what I would, my biggest fear would be, say you go on Needles, and I always compare to, getting up to Needles Highway. If you can ride the road getting to Needles Highway, you can ride Needles Highway, because the switchbacks just getting up there are pretty intense. Yeah. And my biggest fear would be if there was a ton of traffic and I'm in one of those switchback corners and the traffic has stopped and I'm in a corner and I have to brake. I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to dump my bike, you know?
How similar is Needles Highway to like what you hear about the Tail of the Dragon? I don't know who of us have been on the Tail of the Dragon.
It is. Are you talking about riding difficulty or congestion?
Well, yeah, riding difficulty. So I did the Tail of the Dragon last year, and I was terrified because all these different female riders would just say how scared they were. I didn't understand. But it was perfectly fine, but we went at a low traffic time. So if you compare like 2 low traffic times, I was just curious how similar Needles is to something like that.
Very similar. And that's why I asked about whether you're talking about congestion or riding difficulty, because I know Tail of the Dragon, you get there on weekends and it's just, there's just people everywhere and crotch rockets going, you know, passing you on it. Yeah. And thankfully, we don't generally, outside the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, we don't have that kind of traffic congestion ever. It actually is more interesting here when you get into, I would say, early spring and then late fall, because we're very about nature here, so they don't use a lot of chemicals on the road. So if they get snow, they dump a whole bunch of sand everywhere. So that's more what the danger would be when you get off season ish, is that the road is going to be pretty sketchy as far as where there's sand laying.
And
that's
I would say too, Brittany, the Tail of the Dragon is not going to have nearly the elevation change that Needles Highway does, or Iron Mountain Road. So Iron Mountain Road has 3, well, they're called pigtail bridges, and it's where there's going to be a huge elevation change depending on which way you ride it, where you're either going to go up or down the mountain. And rather than doing these crazy switchbacks, what they did was make a pigtail. So you literally go in a circle 3 times.
Like a fucking parking garage.
Yep.
To go, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
To go up or down.
Up or down.
You know what?
And
those usually go up or down, Ryan.
Don't be.
I've never seen one go left and right.
Well, I've ridden both, and I mean, I thought Iron Mountain Road to me was much easier and much more level than Tail of the Dragon.
I was comparing Needles Highway to Tail of the Dragon.
Needles sounds like a fucking nightmare.
Dude, it does. They gave it a really
they're
scary
not.
name.
They're a lot of fun. You just have to, you know, it's just one of those things where you're going to test your ability. Specifically, you're going to test your slow moving motorcycle ability. If you can maneuver your motorcycle at slow speeds, because I'm trying to think of I don't even know what the corner is, but there is a corner that's posted at like 9 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you come up over the top of this hill and you can see the road down here, and there's parking on both sides of it. And you get to the very far corner and it turns completely back on itself. And so you have to maneuver that road on a 2-lane road with cars parked on both sides. And so, you know, you have to know what you're doing.
That's a tight sphincter right there.
It's a tight one. I mean, you're making diamonds on half that
when
road.
you fart, it sounds like a dog whistle.
Yeah.
Tony's going to fuck her.
Yeah. So
he'll bring the Hummer. He'll be okay.
You got dogs chasing you because you're farting dog whistles the whole way down.
Yeah.
Well, the Iron Horse Inn is pretty close to Spearfish Canyon too, right? I mean, you're
correct.
I mean, it's an ideal location. I mean, I looked at the map after we talked, and I'm like, God, what an idiot I was for staying at Wall when my son and I rode out there.
When I heard you say that, it's
a long haul.
You're 70 minutes just hauling into the Black Hills to get on any ride to start where you want to go.
Yeah, and I was paying a fortune for that friggin' Best Western. That's, a piece of crap. Would have much rather been here at this cool place.
Well, and when you have when you ride like one of those geriatric old men too, what should be to a normal person,
dude, I had a souped up fat bob. I was ripping the canyons out there. What are you kidding me?
I wouldn't call it ripping.
It was ripping, baby. It was ripping. Ask my son; he couldn't keep up.
Yeah. I mean, training wheels or no training wheels, call it what you will.
Well, and if I can, I'd like to circle back to one thing that you said, Ryan, and I really appreciate it. We do want people to understand that depending on what you're looking for, it's on offer pretty much all riding season here. And if, you may not get some of the bigger corporate bars being open or active at that point in time, but there's always just fun things to do out here in the Black Hills, whether you like food, wine, beer, just adventures. I don't know, Dave and Ryan, if you guys rode by, down by Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse. We actually have a Volks March where you can walk up on the arm of Crazy Horse and you can see forever. And it's just beautiful up there.
They do it twice a year in June and September.
Yeah. And then on top of it, if there's people who've never been, I am more than happy to sit down with a map and give suggestions on rides. If people want somebody to go with them, there's many times that I've done that too. It's not like I won't take an excuse to go for a motorcycle ride. So if they want to go somewhere fun, I'll be the first person, jumping on a bike, and as long as you guys are comfortable following me, away we go.
Do you guys have any good wine there? Because Dave's gonna need some to keep his blood pressure down.
I mean, we have a nationally renowned winery here.
Sounds like it's right up his alley.
Now the thing is that it doesn't. So it's not the type of winery that you're going to find in like Napa Valley, but it's called Prairie Berry, and it's in Hill City, and they do an amazing job. The owner also has a brewery that she started quite a few years after she had the winery. But I mean, it's a big deal. There's a newer one just outside of Sturgis, Bella Jolie.
The place, there's a what do you call it? There's a cheese and beef jerky place in Hill City, and the gal that owns that place, she's also from North Dakota.
I don't know the name of that one.
No, I don't. But I know where it is. And there's actually an amazing chocolate store, like right on that same block.
Yep.
Harley dealership, Bumpin' Buffalo, Mangy Moose across the street.
Yeah. Have you guys ever had Rocky Mountain oysters?
I'm
not gonna have them. Nope.
Yes.
Nope. Do you know what? But so most
I know what they are.
Nope.
They're not passing over these lips.
All of these people here, they call themselves tough bikers, and none of them want to put bull balls in their mouths. I don't know what their problem is.
I don't call myself a tough biker.
Sliced thin, breaded, deep
tender.
fat fried. They're nice and tender.
They're very nice tender. And tender. They're great A1.
Hey, you can't call yourself a biker till you put some balls in your mouth, Dave.
I don't call myself a biker.
Don't call me a biker. I'm out.
Nope.
Brittany has remained conspicuously quiet during this whole conversation.
I could not have
Brittany's like, I'm a biker.
One thing about it, when you come to the Black Hills, yes, it is a biker mecca, but it's also where they say the Wild West begins. So, I mean, you get to us, and then after that, it's Wyoming, Montana, and it's kind of a fun little mesh of two little worlds that can come together, depending on if you look at our amazing cuisine, Rocky Mountain oysters, or the Needles Highway ride. So there's a lot to experience.
Are the balls really a big deal? Do people really eat the balls all the time?
Oh
yeah,
all the time.
No shit.
Yeah.
Tony, it's one of you go to a lot of the bar restaurants where they have deep fat fryers. Rocky Mountain oysters on the appetizer menu everywhere.
And this is what I would say too, that the thing that people seem to forget is that there's two different kind of cowboys, right? So you have the cowboys that you're going to find in Texas, right?
What? Be careful.
Wait a minute. I just went to Texas and I didn't see one fucking cowboy when I was there.
And they're cowboys, but I think they're a little soft when you compare them to like Western North Dakota, Montana, because they just live in that really warm, temperate environment all year long. And they don't have to deal with all the elements and everything else while trying to be a cowboy at the same time.
You know what? I've watched Yellowstone and Dallas. And those Yellowstone, there's some bad motherfuckers up there, dude. I wouldn't jack with them.
We're not taking anybody to the train station or anything like that.
We'll send Rip if we have to, Tony.
But she knows what it is.
Yeah. I'm going to the train station.
Yeah. She's like, we're not taking anybody to the train station, but we have one.
We threw that fucker off the cliff with a mouthful of oysters. Rocky Mountain oysters, that is. His own.
I know the latitude and longitude of exactly where I need to be.
So, Brittany, you're hearing all of this awesome stuff about the area. We need you to come with me and Ryan.
Right
so
now,
you can help me keep Ryan.
Planning on
so,
it.
how far of a ride is it for you personally? Because I just looked. It's 18 hours for me. So I mean, it's got to be.
Yep.
It's about 1,800 miles.
That's fucking a long way.
Yeah, but Percy's coming early for the party. Percy's coming early for the party.
Yep, I'll be there on the 1st.
For some reason, I just don't have sympathy for you guys.
I know.
You're not riding 1,800 miles, Ryan. You're only, what is it, like 600 miles for you?
This is the first time, Dave. This is the first time that I will have ridden under 1,000 miles. This is the first time I'll have ridden under 1,000 miles one way for any of our events, right?
He ain't lying. Well, no, we also didn't tell you to move to fucking South Dakota either, North Dakota.
North Dakota, yeah. Canada. I mean, we didn't tell him to move to Canada.
I mean, goddamn igloos.
Yeah, but wasn't he living there when you met him?
Doesn't matter. Always. We didn't tell him to move there before we met him.
Doesn't matter.
Yes.
Have none of you seen Fargo, though? None of you seen, other than Ryan, maybe? Because Ryan, none of you seen Fargo? The movie or the movie?
I've seen Fargo many times.
That's what life is like there. So you can't. Yeah. I mean, at least there's some entertainment and some fun.
Oh.
And the wood chipper.
Entertainment. What do you remember from that movie? I remember people dying.
Yes.
People die here all the time.
Wood chippers.
That was the highlight of the movie.
So, Andy, we've been recording here for about 50 minutes, and all this talk that you've been saying over the last 2 times we've spoken together, I haven't heard you say something yet. So, can you just tell people how fucking amazing the Iron Horse Inn is?
Well, it's fucking amazing because I'm there, number one.
Okay, all right, there we go.
Here we go. If you fucking call and make a fucking reservation, and then when you check in and ask for fucking Andy, I will fucking come and give you a hug and make you fucking feel like family. How does that sound?
Nice.
So where do people find you all, and let everybody know where to find you online, whatever they need to do to make reservations.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest with you, the easiest thing, I know phone calls are not necessarily like what people love to do.
We're old school. We have metal keys.
Yeah.
We have metal keys at the hotel.
Nice.
You do not get a plastic card. You have a metal key.
Well, you're going to fuck all the young kids up with those. They're like,
they don't know how to open their hotel door.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with this.
We'll help you figure it out.
No, Tony, we only let the young kids come that know how to use a key. Everybody else.
Because, you're going to really fuck them up asking for phone calls and giving them metal keys. It's like, oh, my God. How do I do that?
So I guess, first of all, Frank Mueller is my dad, and Greg and I, we own the place together, the 3 of us. If you want to call, I recommend that you call the office number is 605-722-7574. Miranda is our front desk manager, and because it's a small business, she also does a variety of other responsibilities. But if she is not there and somebody else answers the phone and you ask for Andi or Frank or Greg, one of us will definitely call you back. They'll take a message. Other than that, you can make a reservation on our website, which is ironhorseinsturgis.com. You can email our reservation agent at reservations@ironhorseinsturgis.com. And you can find us on Facebook, just under Iron Horse Inn. And then we also have a separate Facebook page for our bar called iBar. So it's called the iBar. And we'll hopefully be able to touch base on why it has that name while you guys are there. So
maybe we should do a podcast about that. We should do a podcast from the iBar and tell the story of the iBar.
Now,
that would make my dad so happy.
Keep in mind, Dave is all kinds of bougie, so he's going to want to make sure he gets mints on his pillows too.
Unbelievable.
Well, we don't provide mint, but you can get a drink token or a koozie, or we'll give you some
listen
goodies.
to this.
There you go.
Even better. You can't get a mint, but you can go to the bar. You might be able to get a mint julep, Dave.
We got freebies.
I know where
we
you
got
can get a mint. It's out of the urinal. That big white mint at the bottom of the urinal. Get on that, Dave. That'll freshen your breath right up.
So when we get out there, I know you guys are going to go, why do you hang out with those guys, Dave? I mean, but that's okay.
You think I'm going to feel sorry for you?
Maybe. We'll see.
Look at that. Just right in line, Dave. She's no sympathy whatsoever. None at all.
So we both were in the bar working yesterday for bingo, just for staffing reasons. And there was 6 of us working. And I was helping out in the kitchen, and Tammy, one of our cooks, was in there. And literally I walk in, and Andi doesn't look at me. She looks at Tammy and goes, just tell fucking Greg whatever you want him to do, and you can yell at him if you want. And that was the extent of the conversation.
I said, Tammy, you're the boss. I said, you're the boss today. Greg's our bitch.
Yeah.
So.
And then later, we slowed down on the food, so I was getting down and I was talking to Andi, and I'm like, how's it going? I don't have time to think about you right now. And she just walks away.
Well, I'm
just tough love.
I'm just going to say this, Greg. It sounds like you might be a little high maintenance.
Ooh.
Yeah,
he is.
Man.
He really is.
Don't listen, Ryan.
I like the finer things, Ryan.
You know what, though? I will say this. You could ask my wife the same question, and she would 100% agree with you. She'd be like, dealing with him is a lot.
Yeah.
Ryan and I, we've both been married. I've been married 27 years. How long have you been married, Ryan?
27 this summer. Yep.
Yeah, my wife doesn't want anything to do with me anymore. She's just like, go away.
That's true. I've been to his house. That's true.
Go do whatever you want to do.
So the other thing that we want to make sure that everybody knows too, that we will have some type of poster or display while we are podcasting of our charity giveaway bike. So for those of you that don't know, we are going to be doing the unveiling of our autism charity giveaway bike, and that will be the 25th of March in Louisville, Kentucky is when we do the actual unveiling. And I'm here to tell you that this podcast comes out on Monday, so it's going to be long before the actual unveiling. None of us on the 5 Dirty Bikers podcast has actually even seen the final bike, so we're all eagerly anticipating it. I think our builder Jared Weems sent us a very small picture of he used the original ignition key and everything for the starter because he thought that would be kind of a cool touch. And Tony said some sort of comment about how tight his pants were after he saw that.
It's the old AMF key. It was
the
cool.
old AMF key. But yeah, so we're going to be doing the unveiling of that bike, but we will have some type of poster, display, that kind of thing. So all of the people that come to the Iron Horse are going to be able to buy tickets and purchase their chance to win this bike. It's going to be the last kind of final push before we give that bike away in September.
So when are you fuckers going to be there, Ryan? You guys have said no dates. You said the first part of Sturgis.
Okay, so we are going to be there officially. I will arrive the Thursday before Sturgis. Sturgis officially starts that Friday, right?
Again, what are the fucking dates?
Yeah,
we'll be there the 4th through the 7th.
On the 1st.
Yeah, I'm going out the 1st, but officially we'll be there the 4th through the 7th. So if you're coming out to Sturgis, if you can't get into the Iron Horse Inn, make sure you come out to the Iron Horse Inn.
What about camping? Could people come and camp at your place if you don't have room, since you have all that room, or?
So we used to do that, and as of right now, no, and that's a
hard no. She's
another level of reasoning behind that. A transformer was taken out at one point, so there's
an electrical transformer.
Sounds like you had some shenanigans. There's some shenanigans out there from the campers. Shenanigans.
But even if you're camping or not camping, come out. We're going to be hanging out at the iBar. We'll be podcasting from the property. Brittany, hopefully, will be there. Jared, bless his heart, will either be in the iBar with us all or back in the room, strapped down, one or the other, but he'll be there too.
Possibly banned. You know, he gets into trouble sometimes.
Could be banned. But come out to the Iron Horse Inn, to the iBar, hang out with us, and say hey, and buy a raffle ticket for the bike, the charity bike that we've built, and just have a great time.
So yeah, we'll be there the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th of August, like Dave said. Broadcasting live every night, hopefully from some location there. And we hope to see you guys out there. And come say hi. Come, shake our hands. Shake Dave's hand. Maybe I'm kind of probably not. You're probably not going to want to shake my hand, but
you may not shake his hand. But I might be raffling off tickets for a private visit to Kim Moto's room later in the evening. So if you're interested in that,
Dave's basically Ryan's pimp.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm a hell of a lap dancer, so I'm just going to say it right now.
We're not that kind of establishment.
Oh, damn it.
The camping's already been knocked out by the shenanigans.
We don't have that kind of license, and we have a good relationship with law enforcement. That's right.
God damn it.
Andy jumped on that one quick. She's like,
Ryan, there goes your extra income.
Yeah. I'm not going to be able to pay for my gas on the way home that way.
There goes your gas money.
On a serious note on that, and not to make light of, so the law enforcement comes out, and we have education on unfortunately, a bad thing that happens sometimes during the ride, which is human sex trafficking. And so law enforcement will come out and give educational seminars to our staff on, please look out for these things. We want to make sure we can keep people safe.
Yeah.
So
that's cool to know.
Yeah, cool it is because you want to. I'll tell you why that's really a good thing to know. And this is a real story.
Ryan out of jail.
No, well, that too, but this is a real story. So last year we had our FDBM meetup in Waynesville, Missouri, and we had some bike breakdown issues. And we had the other two. I ride with typically 3 other guys, and the one guy that I ride with is diabetic, and his medication was getting warm, and the other guy, Bob, we knew his bike was going to break down because we had fixed it. The fix that we didn't solve the problem. And so we knew his bike was going to break down, and it did. So he pulled off the side of the road with another one of our friends, Nick. So they pulled off side of the road, and Kenny and I drove to our hotel. While Bob and Nick were on the side of the road, and this was in Missouri, a group of bikers pulled over, probably 10 of them. And they said, "Are you guys okay? Do you need any help?" And they're like, "Yep. Our other 2 buddies they have a trailer. They're going to come back. They're going to pick us up." And I swear to God, these were their words. They were like, "Good. We're glad that you have help coming because it's not safe for you here." And Bob and Nick were like, "What do you mean it's not safe for us here?" And they were like, "This is the major thoroughfare for sex trafficking in Missouri."
Oh, wow.
And you need to understand these guys I ride with.
Who would want to
burly...
take these cats for sex
Hold
trafficking?
on.
I'm waiting for the punchline, dude.
Yeah.
It's coming, right? So hold on. So this was a lady, a female biker who was explaining this to our guys, and the other two guys I ride with, they're big, kind of burly guys. They're both just under 6 feet tall, 280 pounds, or big dudes. She looks right at my buddy Bob, and she goes, "And you are who they want." She goes, "You, young man, you're an earner." Those are her exact words.
I was trying to get there for him.
Yeah, we're glad that you guys informed us that the police come out and they give the educational speeches on sex trafficking. We had no idea that we were riding through sex trafficking lane of Missouri.
You know what, though? The whole Ozarks is a little sketchy. Let's just be honest. It's a sketchy area.
It is a sketchy area.
It's sketchy.
I mean,
I watched that show on Netflix. It's sketchy.
Right. It's one of those places where you need to keep yourself protected.
I will tell you, though, the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally is a very safe place to be. I've been there, from, 5, 8, 16, now in my 40s. And there's never been a single time I felt unsafe there. Don't get me wrong, there are bad things that happen everywhere, but the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, it's become so commercialized in a sense in comparison to the way it was in the 80s and
90s.
Yeah, early 90s. And I don't want anybody to feel like if they show up, they have to be looking over their shoulder the entire time. It's a cool place. It's a great experience. I mean, I would probably tell you, you're probably safer at the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally than you are at spring break, where some of these college kids go. And I can attest to that because I've also been to spring break where some of these college kids go. But I mean, yes, they do talk to us about these things. But there's no big concerns, I don't think. If you're not out looking for it, I think you have to look for those things in order to find them.
Yeah, and the rally's got something for everybody. My mid-60-year-old mother is a very social person, loves people watching, and if she doesn't get to come to the rally, she's upset because she enjoys it so much. And I wouldn't say, "Mom, come to the rally," if it wasn't safe, So having her be there and because she loves talking to everybody, figuring out where they're from, what do you do, why are you here, have you ever been here before, talking about those things that she enjoys very much because she knows it's important to us. She's been coming out for over a decade now, and it's one of those communal experiences with everybody that has something in common that they care very passionately about, which is motorcycling. And you have your partying, your riding, your concerts, your shared experiences with people, get to see a beautiful part of the country, and there's no reason you should not come here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
She doesn't live very far from you. So if she meets you while you're here, you are best friends.
Yeah, she'll know you. She'll cyber stalk you.
She will come to visit you. And
who's going to come visit me?
My wife, my mom.
Greg's mom.
Where she is? Okay.
She lives in Bismarck.
She comes out for the rally every year. So, that's the other thing we didn't talk about is we talk about it being a family business, but it is literally a family business. So during this time of year, we don't have a ton of employees. We have our bar that goes and we have, staff that runs our office and cleans rooms and stuff. But during the rally, we triple in size from a staffing perspective. And we draw those people from a very small community of about 1,200 people, or we hire our family. And so Greg's dad comes in and helps us with breakfast. Greg's mom comes in and helps us with the front desk. His uncle comes in and helps us in the kitchen. My sister comes in and helps with housekeeping and the bar. My nephew works with us. My niece works with us. So it's not just Greg and me and Frank. You're going to meet the whole damn family when you show up.
Are you guys, do you get an opportunity to at least be able to enjoy? Because I mean, you make it sound a little bit like it's going to be extremely overwhelming at the same time, or you have it down to a science where you actually get an opportunity to enjoy yourself at the same time?
I tell people all the time that Sturgis Motorcycle Rally is the most predictable time to run our business, because we know what it's like to have 194 rooms full, and we know what it's like to run a very busy bar. I know exactly how many people I need to do all of those things. It's the rest of the year when it's not as predictable, when I don't know if one weekend I'm going to have 30 rooms full or if I'm going to have 100 rooms full, because then I'm like, okay, so now I have to figure out how to staff for cleaning those rooms. I have to figure out, how busy the bar is going to be in retrospect. So it sounds pretty, I think a lot of people think it sounds daunting, but it is typically like smooth sailing.
Yeah,
we're very we've done lucky. It for so long.
Yeah, we have staff that's long tenured. Most of our guests have been and stayed with us before. They know who we are. They're very respectful of us and our property and our employees, because they, to them, this is like Christmas every year. This is the one time they get to come and do whatever they want, act like kids, right? So they don't want to ruin it for themselves or anybody else that's here. So they're generally very respectful. And, most of them end up being family too. We have Andy referenced to people from New Jersey before. We've had people stay for us for 13 and 15 years straight. And if they don't come, it feels wrong. Like the rally's not the same if they're not here. Okay. So it's awkward.
Does your place have any socials that people should follow? Does your hotel have an Instagram or anything like that?
We're not on Instagram, but we're on Facebook.
Okay.
So just it's the Iron Horse Inn. You'll find us in Sturgis. It's Sturgis basically.
And the bar has a separate one.
And the bar has a separate one, but they're connected, so you can see that they are somehow connected. So that's the other part of being a small business. I am an owner. I do the accounting. I am social media. I'm human resources, which is really hard because I have a new complaint about him every day.
Her dad gets way more HR complaints.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that my background prior to this has been I was a nurse for 15 plus years. So social media was not necessarily something I was ever trained in. So definitely a learning curve for me, but I hope that when people get on there, they can get the information that they need. And if they reach out, via Messenger Facebook or whatever, message. It's me that's responding. It's not some random person that I've hired to do it that they have to check in. You're genuinely getting a response from me. So, and I don't use the F word when I'm DMing anybody.
Except for me.
Yeah.
At 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. But no, we do get to have fun.
Tons of fun.
Yeah. And a lot of it is, even if we know, because obviously we know the busy check-in days and the busy days people are leaving, then that day we'll get on the bus and go to downtown Sturgis for the afternoon from like 1 to 5, and we'll have some fun and run into people that are staying at the hotel in downtown Sturgis, and then we'll go back and deal with what we have to deal with that night.
Yeah. I will tell you a fun story that happened last year that when it happened, I didn't really think it was that big of a deal. But I had so many people talk to me about it afterwards. It kind of heightened it for me. But we were on the bus going down to Sturgis, and we were coming back, and the bus had an issue. So the bus broke down about 2 or 3 miles from the motel.
Was this the party bus you're talking about before?
Yeah, party bus.
Yeah.
So we're on
so it's full.
Yeah. So we're on our way back, and I look at Greg and I look at my father-in-law, and I'm like, you know what, you guys, I got a plan. So I called my nephew who was working at the bar, and I said, how busy is the bar right this minute? And he said, not bad. And I said, okay. I think we had 3 or 4 people working. And I said, Kendon, come and pick me up. Come and pick us up. Obviously we've been drinking, so we can't drive, but all my bartenders are sober. I said, Greg and I will come back and we'll watch the bar.
Put the drunk people behind the bar.
Smart.
Good decisions.
I said, I don't want our guests to be stuck on that bus. We don't know how long it's going to take. And so we gave them company vehicles to go and pick people up. They had to make 3 or 4 trips to get everybody back. But so I had 3 bartenders driving vehicles to the bus, back to the motel, and picking up everybody else who was on the bus. And so everybody gets back and everybody's fine. And the next morning, I'm serving breakfast and somebody comes up to me and he's like, I heard what you did last night. And I was like, oh shit, what did I do? I don't think I was that drunk. And he's like, no, it was really fucking cool that you got everybody off the bus and you made sure that everybody got back here and you guys, paid your employees. And we don't own that bus. We pay that busing company to do that for us. We could have easily said, we're going to wipe our hands clean of that and blame it on them. But that's not what we're about. We want to keep that. We want to have a great partnership with them. So we got them all back and they had a great time that evening and everybody, didn't have to worry about it. And the bus was up and running within like 30 minutes. So it's not like it would have been the end of the world, but I didn't know that. So I solved the problem and I don't know, it was kind of a cool experience in retrospect, but I didn't know it was going to be so impactful until the next morning. So
that's very cool. Well, we're looking forward to coming and seeing you. We hope that Brian's on his best behavior and that you guys will feel like we're part of your family as well. And just so you guys know, see now we've broke you in. So when we actually are on site, you'll be able to sit down and do this in person with us when we're there. So that's why I was asking how busy you were going to be, because we want to make sure that we make time that you guys can sit down with us and record with us. And if you're not nervous now, Andy, wait till that where it says live up in the top corner when it's actually live, that people will be able to hear you right away.
Yeah, I hate that.
I'll drink a couple of beers beforehand. Now knowing that I'm allowed to have bathroom breaks, I'll be fine.
Yeah. And your dad. We want to talk to your dad while we're there.
My dad wants to talk to you guys. Our plan was actually to try and do this from up there and have him kind of do a sneak peek in. But we just had some situations happen. It's a small business. And so we had some staffing situations happen. And my dad was super awesome. And he said, you know what? You and Greg, you guys have got this. And he stepped in and did some stuff today so that I would be available tonight. So
very cool.
Yeah. Shout out to Frank. He's a rock star.
Yeah. Tell Frank we're looking forward to meeting him.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you guys again for listening to this episode of the 5 Dirty Bikers podcast. Again, we want to wish Dustin a little bit of a get well. I know he's feeling a little bit under the weather, and we certainly missed him again tonight. We want to have say a big thank you to both Greg and Andy for coming out, and please send Andy a message over Facebook Messenger and tell her how good she did tonight. She was nervous for absolutely no reason, and she said just the appropriate number of fucks, so that was much appreciated. But anyway, we just wanted to make sure, and everybody get out there and check out their place, the Iron Horse Sturgis. So please go check out their motel. If you are in anywhere going to be near their area, either in and around Sturgis, off season, on season, snow, no snow, make sure you look them up and give them a consideration to stay at their place, because we would really like for them to to see some action come from what we're trying to promote. Their places is really great. Check it out online. All of the details of how to make reservations and how to find them is all online. And if you don't know, you can always DM me and I will point you in the right direction.
At 1 o'clock in the morning.
Or at 1 o'clock in the morning, right?
That's Brian's.
Hey, it's when the magic happens, Dave.
It's when the magic
happens.
Everything happens after midnight. It's all magical.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's the witching hour. So thank you guys again for listening to the 5 Dirty Bikers podcast. And as always, keep it dirty.
I'll see you soon, Frank.